Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Carrie Hope Ministries. I'm Crystal, and this is Mark. And we are so glad you're joining us tonight. If you're watching this during the live portion, would you please say hello? So at the I'm sorry. I was doing good.
This is the live portion.
I was doing
I'm wondering
good.
what the taped portion is going to be like later.
Oh, I don't know. But would you say hello to us, and at the end, we can say hello back to you.
It means a lot to us to know that you're out there, so do take a moment to say hi. We are in the book of Acts. We've been in the book of Acts for some time, and we warned folks ahead of time that Acts is that book that you can sometimes sort of linger in it and lose interest if you're not careful. It seems as though there's a lot of activity at the very beginning, and then there's sort of this lull and this assessment of what do we do now? And we've said that's the theme throughout. We'll talk about that here in just a second.
It's just real quick. It's funny you say that because when you read the book of Acts, it does sound like Paul's doing these things and it's just one right after the other. And you just picture, a month passing or something. I just finished the book of Galatians, and I think it was Galatians that he was talking about this, where he spent like 3 years in one place before he ever even went back to Jerusalem the first time.
If you look at Acts, I agree with you. It seems like it's real rapid fire. But if you look at Acts, it'll say, and he was able to stay there for 6 months, or able to stay there for a year or 2 years. So yeah, it does cover a vast amount of time.
Yeah.
And so we try to compress it. But tonight we're going to talk about something that's pretty active. If you were with us, it's been 2 weeks because of Thanksgiving, but if you were with us 2 weeks ago, you know that Paul was arrested in Jerusalem and taken before the Sanhedrin. Now, the Sanhedrin, of course, is sort of the governing body of the faith of the Jews in that day. It's made up of Pharisees and Sadducees. Let's explain the difference again for those who don't know. What's the primary point?
The primary difference?
Yeah, the primary difference between Pharisees and Sadducees.
Because they were both religious.
Right, they're very
religious sect.
They're the ones that knew the law. They would be able to analyze the scriptures and explain the scriptures. Yes.
Really the biggest difference was that the Sadducees say there is no resurrection of the dead.
I don't even know how you would be religious. I don't know why you would bother to be religious if you thought there was no hope in the future. If you're only living for today. Sometimes I wonder if we misunderstood that. Sometimes I wonder if it was a technicality. In other words, there's some resurrection, but it's not a physical resurrection, or there's some sort of spirit. I don't know, but there is definitely a difference in theology between the Pharisees and the Sadducees. You can see we're getting into the Christmas spirit. We're in our poinsettia jungle tonight. And let's get ready to look at tonight's study, as Paul is actually going to plan to play the Pharisees against the Sadducees when he's arrested and brought before the Sanhedrin. He was brought before him 2 weeks ago, and of course, he got into a little conflict with some of them by speaking out against the chief priests for some of their activities. But we pick up from there. He's in Jerusalem. He wants to go to Rome, and he's been talked to by other believers. Don't go to Rome. You're going to get in trouble in Rome. They may try to kill you in Rome. Paul knows all this, and he's going to get some clearer vision tonight about exactly what he should do. That's what we're going to talk about. All right, we are Carrie Hope Ministries. And, of course, Carrie Hope Ministries is a ministry of Gold Hill Wesleyan Church. If you don't have a church home, we would love for you to join us every Sunday morning. We have worship at 10 o'clock. We try to live stream at 10:15. And then Crystal and I are back for Carrie Hope Ministries every Thursday at 7 o'clock. And we also have prayer time Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. Again, these are all on our Facebook channel. And you can catch us on YouTube at our YouTube channel, Real Gold Hill. There's several, a couple hundred videos that have been uploaded to that. And most of all of our past ones during COVID and so forth are on there. I want to promote this, something coming up, very special event it's actually on December the 16th, but we need you to register by December the 10th. Make sure you register online. There is a link. You can go to our Facebook page. You can find the URL link. You can get registered. $5 a plate. Breakfast with the Grinch. It's something our children's ministry have never done before. It looks like it's going to be a great time. And no, I am not the Grinch. So make sure that you come out for that and bring the little ones. I'll get a picture made and so forth. That'll be a lot of fun. Again, that's on December 16th, but get registered by the 10th. You can go on our Facebook page to register. So what do we do now? We've said is the theme. We've talked about the book of Acts. I said that this is called Clearer Vision, or we could call it Roman Escort. I think Roman Escort sounds like a small sedan, so I don't really like that title so much, but that's what happens. We again are in Acts 23 if you've got your Bible, and we're going to talk a little bit about what happens. It's kind of like, I told Crystal, it's kind of like an old Bullwinkle cartoon. At the end of every Bullwinkle cartoon, they would have two titles. That's going way back. He would say, next week it's either join us next time for Clearer Vision or Roman Escort. So anyway, let's get on with this. Acts 23, we're going to summarize what's been going on. Paul, appearing before the Sanhedrin, knows that some are Pharisees and others Sadducees, which is what we talked about before. So he spoke of being a respected Pharisee, which he was, taught by Gamaliel, who was a respected teacher and Pharisee himself as he grew up. But he said he was a Pharisee in his past and states that the reason he is on trial is because of the hope of the resurrection of the dead, causing a dispute to break out and divide the assembly. The Pharisees argued, we find nothing wrong with this man. Well, of course not. Why? Because he's claiming that this is all about the resurrection of the dead, that he's been brought in there and there's being an outcry against him. Really, it deals with the fact that he was accompanied by some people who were not Jews, but they were Gentiles, and there was rumors around that Paul had taken them to the temple. He never did that, but it was enough to cause upheaval in Jerusalem. So anyhow, the Pharisees, after finding out he is a Pharisee, want to set him loose. The dispute becomes so violent that the commander, the one who had put him under arrest in the first place and brought him to the Sanhedrin, was afraid Paul would be torn to pieces and ordered the troops, Roman troops that is, to take him to the barracks. The following night, Jesus, of course now Jesus is resurrected, so we're not talking about in physical form that we would know him as, but Jesus stood near Paul and said, "Take courage. As you have testified about me in Jerusalem, so you must also testify in Rome." The reason I said that this is clearer vision is because up to this point, a lot of Paul's contemporaries and those who have been in the church have said, don't go to Rome, Paul. Are you sure the Spirit's calling you to Rome? We don't go back to Jerusalem. You're going to be in prison there. Are you sure this is where you should go? And obviously Paul was willing to go, and his choice is verified, so to speak, in a sense, by Jesus' appearance saying, you testified for me there in Jerusalem, you'll testify for me again in Rome. It says some Jews, about 40 plus, make a vow not to eat or drink until Paul is killed. Now, of course, these are Jews that do not believe Jesus is Messiah. They're out to get Paul, and they take this vow not to eat or drink until Paul is killed. And they ask the chief priests, this is how deceptive the Sanhedrin can be sometimes. They're the ones ultimately that really put Jesus before Pilate and got him into all kinds of trouble and put him to death. But they asked the chief priest here to ask the commander to return Paul back to the Sanhedrin so that in the process they can ask more questions about his case. However, while he's on his way back to the Sanhedrin, that's when they plan to kill him. But Paul's nephew, now I'll put a question mark here because the scriptures tell us that it was the son of his sister. But I wanted to include that because, see, a lot of times it is referred to as the brethren. We're talking about the New Testament church, which was known as the Way. So there is the slightest possibility that this is a sister in the faith. That is her son. So I don't necessarily think it's one or the other, but I just want to just kind of put that insert that in case it is not necessarily blood kin to Paul. So anyway, Paul's nephew overhears the plot. He hears of the plot and he tells Paul, and then the commander, Paul tells him to go to the Roman commander, and he tells him that, who tells him not to tell anyone they have spoken. Then the commander, he has 470 soldiers escort Paul to Governor Felix with a letter explaining the circumstances and that he is telling Paul's accusers to present their case before the governor also. What is the circumstances? Well, it all deals with the Jewish law and the fact, again, that Paul is accused of bringing Gentiles into the temple. It seems like such a small matter to us today, but it's enough to get him into a lot of trouble, and it's an excuse, really, to silence this great tool that God is using to bring the gospel to the Gentiles. The Jews are upset about this. It's interesting to me because a lot of Jews don't believe, but they don't want the gospel being taken along with the Old Testament and presented to the Gentile people. And Paul again is preaching salvation through grace and faith and not through the works of the law, which is something that the Jews had all believed. Those who have been followers from the Old Testament day that did not believe Christ is Messiah. So Felix has a letter explaining the circumstances from the commander, and that he is telling Paul's accusers to present their case before the governor also after Paul arrives. So Felix says he will hear Paul's case when his accusers get there, and he puts Paul under guard. All right, that's going to summarize what we talked about in Acts 23. I'm going to invite Crystal back in here with me real quick as we finish up. And let's talk for just a second. You know, what grabs you about this particular lesson here tonight?
What grabs?
Well, I mean, yeah, what really jumps out at you? There's a lot of things. I see this and...
What really gets me is how, well, I guess I felt like Paul was kind of sneaky in a way.
Yeah, he played them against each other.
He played them against each other, but it also turned into... It could have cost him his life.
Yeah, he at the risk of possibly getting hurt, he knew that the best chance he would have to get out of that predicament was to pit them against each other, so the chaos and the rioting would give him an opportunity. I feel like the commander, and I think the gospel, or I think the book of Acts states this, that he was favorable towards Paul. And so I think Paul played on that and felt like, if I can get the commander to save me, take care of me, then I'll be okay. I need to cause some chaos here. So he's very insightful in doing that. Yeah, that's one great point.
I find it interesting. This is a big deal, but I do find it interesting that this commander was willing to send over 400 of Roman soldiers just to guard this one.
I know, I'm amazed at that too. 470 soldiers. I mean, and he finds out there's 40 Jews.
Yeah.
That now, you think about the fact that Rome is such a power.
Yeah.
The Jews really, there's been Herodians in the past that thought Herod should be on the throne. You had all of this going on when Jesus was there, but they weren't able to really make any difference against Herod and you think about the Roman government and how powerful it is. I'm with you. 470 detached soldiers to escort him to the governor. And there's now they don't go all the way. I need to say they stop part of the way, but while it's dangerous, that he does escort him. I think that's an excellent point. Let's talk about Governor Felix. We don't know much about him.
No.
He's going to come into play here, and he's going to really be sensitive to some of what Paul has to say. But like so many in government, he's also not going to follow through with what he knows is the right thing to do. Now, that's not always the case in government, but he's going to give the people a little bit of what they want so he can stay in good odor with them. And we'll talk about that a little bit more next week. It's interesting to me also that Paul does get a visit from Jesus, so to speak, and he verifies what Paul was thinking all along. Because up to this point, I think a lot of people who read Acts feel as though, man, Paul's being really stubborn about this, and maybe this isn't the right thing for him to do. But, you know, it's almost as though Paul is so anxious to get to Rome that you're thinking while you're reading it, like, Paul, are you still adhering and listening to the Spirit? But evidently, Jesus says, it's okay. Yeah. Your heart is in the right place. I'm going to get you there when the time is right. You know, and Paul is going to be held for some time before he actually gets to go to Rome and proclaim all there is that he got to say. So, you know, I mean, he's imprisoned, and he's held in prison. So, all right. Anything else before we go? All right. Well,
I think it's
next week.
It was summarized well.
All right. Next week we're going to talk a courtroom drama, Paul's trial before Felix in Acts chapter 24. It's not like a Perry Mason episode. But it is a courtroom drama, but it's going to involve Paul and not Raymond Burr. Hey, listen, real quick. I drag you in to push you out.
Yeah.
Our sermon for Sunday is called Lugging It Around. Matthew 2, verse 8 and 9 is the scriptures. Again, join us if you don't have a church home at 10 o'clock. You can be with us online at 10:15 approximately. A lot going on in December. Man, we got Breakfast with the Grinch on the 16th, Christmas play on the 17th. We've got a trip, missionary trip, December the 9th to West Virginia. We have got special events throughout Advent. We've got kids program coming up on the 17th as well. Candlelight communion coming up on the 24th. All this, of course, the Lord will. I should say it that way. But a lot to be talking about, a lot to be praying for, and a lot to look forward to during this Christmas season. We need to say hey to some people tonight before we close.
We do. Let's see. All right. Hello, Connie.
Hey, Connie. Good to hear from you tonight.
Hello to Ralph and Teresa.
Hey, Ralph and Teresa. Thanks for joining us.
Hello to Rhonda.
Hey, Rhonda, good to hear from you.
And Rhonda said she'd need to see a picture of you and the Grinch together before she's
To
convinced.
prove that it's not me. It's not me. I'll promise you. We'll try to do that.
Hello, Dana.
Hey, Dana, good to hear from you.
And hello to Helen.
Hey, Helen.
Hello to Bonnie.
Hey, Bonnie, thanks for joining us.
I'll say maybe Jamie.
And maybe Jamie.
Hello to Darlene.
Hey, Darlene, good to hear from you.
Hello to Daryl.
Hey, Daryl.
And hello to Chris.
Hey, Chris, boy, great crowd tonight. So good to hear from each and every one of you. Thanks for joining us and watching us. Let's have a prayer that we will also have boldness in our faith like Paul did. And listen, if you haven't said hey to us tonight, make sure you do it real quick. We'll say hi to you before we leave the live stream. Share it with someone and hope that they can get on board with us for our next session next Thursday night. Let's pray again that God will have His way in our hearts this Christmas season. We'll be bold in our faith as Paul was. Father, we thank you so much for your word and the truth of it. We pray we will have a similar boldness as Paul did, willing, Lord, to know the Scriptures and believe and trust that you're going to take us where we need to go. We pray, Father, you will provide protection when it's necessary and that we will have the opportunity and take the opportunity to present the gospel to those not only in friendly surroundings, but also in harsh environments. Please have your way with our churches. Please bless and govern our hearts this Christmas season. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hey, listen, God bless you. Anyone else to say hello to tonight? I hope you have an incredible weekend. I hope you'll join us again this Sunday for our worship service. If you can't be with us in person, make sure to be with us on Facebook. God bless you, everyone. Good night.